Hello and welcome to my channel and to the second video of the playlist. In this video we are going to see the way of finding the greatest of three numbers using Java. In the previous video from the playlist we have seen the greatest of two numbers, which was relatively easy, but here is a little challenge that you need to find the greatest among three, right? So to tackle this particular question we will introduce two new concepts that we are going to see now. And if you like my work, please consider subscribing and share it to your friends. This really motivates me to make such more content for you guys. So the thing that we are going to see, two new concepts that we're going to see, is compound conditional statements. First one is compound conditional statements, right? And the another one is logical and operator. Logical and operator, right? These two new things we will see to tackle this particular question, right? So let us see in detail what our previous question was. Our previous question was really simple. Let us say one number 20 and another number, let's say 35. So you need to find the greatest of two. So what we have done is we have put an if condition and we have given their variable names, let's say n1 and n2, and it was really simple, right? Okay, so if we put a if condition here, if we write like this, if n1 is greater than n2, then we are printing that n1 is greatest, whereas on the else part we are giving else n2 is greatest, right? So this was relatively easy, but here comes another problem for us. Let us understand the problem. So there comes another number, let's say 56. Now the problem here is not only the n1 should be greater than the n2, but it also need to be greater than the n3 here in our case, which is 56, right? Not only n1 should be greater than n2, but n1 should also be greater than n3. Then only you can say that our n1 is the greatest, right? So how do you put this thing in a if condition? You can't say like if n1 is greater than n2 and n3, right? You can't say this like this. This is not a valid way to say this. So to tackle this particular problem, we are introducing the concept which is known as logical and operator, right? So what we can do here is we can write a condition like this: if n1 is greater than n2. So this becomes a particular condition, right? And you can write, and at the same time n1 is also greater than n3. You can write like this. So this will combine both as a full condition. This is one separate condition and this is one separate condition, right? The both whole if condition, we say it as a compound conditional statement. What do we say? Compound conditional statement, right? So to tackle this kind of particular questions, we use the concept which is known as compound conditional statements. Now, so let us see how this AND operator works, right? We are going to see how this particular AND operator is working. Let me remove this first and we will get back to it. Okay. Now we are going to write the same thing. Let's say n1 is greater than n2 and you write n1 is greater than n3. So this was our condition, right? And let's say we are going to print n1, and on another statement I am writing else if. So let us write the condition for n2. So n2 should be greater than n1 and n2 at the same time should be greater than n3, right? Then only we can say print n2. Now let us understand how this particular AND operator works. See, first of all, this particular condition will be checked, will be evaluated, right? if this condition is true, then only the controller will move to the next condition within the same if block. Again, I am repeating my words. The first condition here will be checked, right? This particular condition here will be checked first. If it is true, then only the controller will move to the next condition within the same if block. Let's say this one is true, this one is true, and here it is, let's say this condition is true. So both the conditions are true, then only this print statement will be executed, right? Now let's say this condition is true and this condition is false. This condition is false. Now what will happen? This false means it will go to next if else if block, right? Now let us say another condition. Let's say this condition is false. This is very important. This condition is false, let's say. Now the controller will not move to this condition itself. Will not move to this condition. It will directly go to else if block. So what we learn here is, if the first condition is true, then only the controller will move to the next condition within the same if block. But let's say the first condition itself is false. Now the controller will directly move to the next if block. So this is the working of AND operator. So if you go through the truth table, you will get to know all these things. But I have discussed in brief. If you're not getting, please watch the video once again, so you will get a clear idea of the same. Let's head back to Eclipse to do the demonstration of what we have learned. So this is a public class. Hello. In the first video itself, I have told you that everything in Java will be starting from a class, and this is our entry point to our application, which is the main method, right? So we are expecting some inputs from the user. So we are importing that scanner class, and we are giving it as new scanner system.in. Okay, so next we are writing CISO, that means the print statement in Java. We are addressing them as to say enter the first number. Let's say enter the first number. Okay, and what we are doing is the whatever number is being given from by the user, we are storing it in number 1, right? So we are using that scanner object, and we are using next int because the number which are expecting from the user is an integer, right? So we will be using next int. So we have to do it for 3 times, right? Because we are dealing with 3 numbers. So we are going to copy this particular code, and we want to use it for 2 times, right? So we are going to modify this particular copied code, and we will say second number, right? So on the same time, we will also change the variable names. Here will be number 3, number 2, and also the statement, right? Okay, so this particular block is nothing but we are expecting some number from the user, right? So we have introduced the scanner class, and then we are expecting some inputs from the user, right? So here we are going to write the main thing, that our condition. So we are going for the first number. So number 1 and number 1 should be greater than number 2, and at the same time number 1 should be greater than number 3, because see, there are 3 numbers. So if a particular number is the greatest, so how we justify that? We justify that by 2 conditions, right? That number should be greater than the other 2 numbers. So this is what we have written, right? So by that, what is the outcome of that particular if block? So if it is correct, then we will say number one is the greatest, right? Is the greatest. So we are going to copy this particular code, and we are going to paste that. Here we will use else if. I'm going to paste it, if 2 times. So we are going to modify the code for number 2, right? So number 2 should be greater than number 1, and at the same time number 2 should be greater than number 3. Then only we can say number 2 is the greatest. Now understand one more thing. See, there are 3 numbers and we have introduced 2 conditions, right? If these conditions doesn't match at all, let's say number 1 is not the greatest, number 2 is also not the greatest, then you are left with only one condition, that number 3 is the greatest. So you need not put any other statements for that, any other if else conditions for that. So you can directly use number 3 plus is the greatest, right? So this is our code, and it will not always work for, let's say, if they give equal numbers and all, so it may not work, right? So we are not including this kind of things. Let us save the code, and you save the code by Control S. So as you can see here, it is being saved, and we are going to run that particular code, right? So let us run. Enter the first number. I'm giving the first number as 78. Okay, the second number, let us give it as 1002, and let's say the last number as 36, right? So we have given the 3 numbers, and the expected output is 1002, right? So as you can see here, 1002 is the greatest. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it's really helpful for you, and we are going to see you in the next video. Thank you so much.